welcome to another live stream. Good to have you here. Trying to make sure everything's working just fine here. Pulled back my music a little. Take a look at me. Hey, coming in a little bit quiet. I can tell from my end, and I can hear myself in the headphones as well, but we can always adjust that on the fly, and if it needs a little bit more, then you can let me know on your end. But good to have you here. So yeah, let's lose the music. Goodbye music. I've changed everything once again for the live stream, as I tend to like to do. So let me know in the comments or on the live chat if you can hear me and see me just fine. I checked it out before and it seemed to be working all right, so we'll see. I'm just gonna adjust things on the fly here and move my laptop over here. Take a look at the comments that are coming in already from people. I've got a question queued up already. I'll save that from IT Never Gets Old, but good to have you here from Shoreville in the USA. Nice to have you in the crowd. Who else is here? Randy. Good to have you too. I was just chatting with Randy on the pre-show there. We were hanging out for about a half an hour before the show. Just a members-only Zoom call. Just me and him today, chatting about all sorts of stuff. So always fun. Needs more cloud, says Guy Cochran. Yeah, there's zero cloud elements in this studio. It's something I can fix if you really want me to. But for today, we don't have any. We don't rely on the cloud except for delivering this stream so you can watch it, of course. That's the one cloud method that I do rely on today. What else? Grant saying, always fun when you open the stream in a tab like a half hour ago and then it starts and you're like, where's this music coming from, before you recognize the music. Yeah, I was thinking about changing the music of the show today. I was just, as I tend to do, spending a little bit of time today just prepping for the live show, setting up some stuff. And one of the things I was going to do in advance of the show today was change the music. So I'm glad I didn't. Otherwise, you would be very, very confused about what's going on. I was asking in the pre-show there if your clocks have changed, and Christoph says, in Germany we changed the clock yesterday. Same here. I'm based in Sweden, in case you didn't know, and we did change the clocks yesterday. I was trying to think what day it was there. But I'm assuming that somewhere in the world, if you're living in other places, which you are, then you did not change your clocks, and perhaps this is at a different time. For some reason, I can never figure out the time zones well enough to know if it's earlier or later for you, but you can let me know in the comments if it's earlier or later. Maybe it's a better time for you, maybe it's a worse one. You can also let me know that in the comments, of course, as well, in the live chat. German clocks have changed. Hello from New York here, from David. Good to have you here. Lots of familiar faces too, Eric and Keith, and who else did I jump over there? Jared and Guy, nice to have you here. You changed all your clocks. I just changed the time, says Elmar. Audio level's good. Excellent. Nice. And Adam as well. Good to have you here. We can take a little look at what Adam's been up to with Mix Effect a little bit later. I do have my iPad here, and we'll see if it connects. Before the live show these days, I'm having the same problem again and again. Nothing to do with Mix Effect, but something to do with my ATEM starting to have some weird issues. It may or may not be companion. I can't entirely tell if it's just because I leave them on for a long time. I know there's something weird going on with the ATEM constellations that some people have noticed. So not entirely sure what's happening there, but something is happening, and I don't know what. So if you have questions that pop up in the during the show, then do let me know, and I will get to them. Try to put a here to record on there, because it'll show up nice and big on my screen. Or you can put a question in here, which IT Never Gets Old did with a Q. Greetings, John. Aaron was strongly hinting yesterday on his live stream that you are about to make some huge changes to H2R cloud interactions for polls. Can you share more? Oh, that is a great question. I don't think I'm quite ready to share the fun stuff that's coming with future Q&A based tools. I did tell him that just in passing yesterday before he went live, and then he managed to keep that in his mind and say it on air. Not that it's he didn't need to keep that secret or anything. Don't worry about that. But we're not quite ready just yet to share that stuff. But as soon as I have something, I'll let you know for sure. So thank you for the question, and I never like whenever the answer is that. Adam here, we're talking about the constellation having some issues. BMD was able to reproduce the problem about too many times. Messages. Oh yeah, there's a weird thing going on with the constellation ATEMs that they're sending so many messages constantly about multi-view stuff, and it may be what's clogging up Companion over time, or it may be something else. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. And David says, I have 3 days left to return my 2ME. What problems are you encountering? Mine has been working really well. Only, I need to reproduce this because I use it a lot of days in the week. I've used it all day today just fine. And then at a certain time of the day, on a Monday, and this is only the second time it's happened, but I will leave this office for like an hour or two to go home and have some dinner and then come back here for the live stream. And when I get back here, Companion is not be able to connect to the ATEM, and then I open the ATEM software control and it is losing connection in and out from the ATEM, so it is undecided yet what is causing that, but it's been the same path or the same flow for those 2 times. So it's not exactly a trend yet, but there's something weird happening there, and I haven't figured out quite yet what it is. Go Web Technologies wants to know, how was your experience with the BirdDog P120? Not too bad. I got 3 of them on loan, and you might have saw that last week while I was live streaming from them or using them during my live stream last week. I still have one here in the studio, which is this camera that I used in the opening. So that is the BirdDog P120. In fact, if I go to, let's see, where in the world did I put that piece of software? There it is. If I do this and then this, yes. So here it's I put my we'll do a tour of the studio in a little while here, so I can show you what I've changed and how it's all set up. But I have the BirdDog software running here, so you can see that camera is coming in via that. And I could use this software to refocus the camera, but I need to make a change on my end here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. Autofocus, will it work? Maybe not. Maybe I'll just do it manually. There we go. Hey, so that's the camera in there. I can zoom in to me. And I am working on a little, I don't know how good the lip sync is on that. I am working on I'll cut to the camera here. Working on a video specifically about using the BirdDog cameras with an ATEM setup, but it's still a work in progress, and I haven't quite finished the whole thing for that. So I did borrow 3 of them from them, and then I'm just going to put this back out of focus again for later, for the end of the show. I'll forget to do it if I don't do it now. Yeah, I did borrow a few from them I could only keep the 3 of them for a week or so. And then after that, I needed to give them back again. Okay, I'll go to that so I can see what I'm doing. Perfect. Everything's set up again. So I kept 3 for a week, and then now I'm keeping this one. So I'm indefinitely loaning this to try some more stuff. I can make the video about it a bit more, and I wanted to test it out some more so I can get a full feel of it for that video. Have you considered if your ATEM is haunted, says Niels? Possibly. It's of all the days, October 31st would be the day for it to be spooky. So I would not be surprised if it's that. Why it happened 2 Mondays ago, I don't know, but who knows? Maybe they're related. Chinner says, anyone find the BirdDog cam control software to be buggy? I will say the cam control software does feel like very much a version 1 or early version. There's a few things in there that I'd really love to see improved, and I was starting to compile a list of those things to send to BirdDog, so maybe they can fix some stuff. Yeah, it hasn't been rock solid, that's for sure, but I don't know what version that cam control is, but I think it needs a few little tweaks to get it working even better. Go Web Technologies wants to know, are you connected to the BirdDog camera via NDI or SDI? So the application that I showed you there is using NDI control, I believe. That's the latest of my knowledge says that the application that I showed you is NDI. So it is connected to the network, and that preview is NDI. And we can show this later whenever I do a little tour here. The The camera itself is also connected via SDI. In fact, you can see a green cable behind me there, and that green cable goes on the floor all the way over to the camera that's over there. So it is sort of both, but for the purposes of video, you're seeing it via SDI. Have I tried running comms through the PTZs? I have not. It's not something I really need for the studio here, and I didn't really have a use case for that for testing. Maybe I can try it out before I'm done, but I haven't actually tried it yet, no. All right, cool. Thank you for the quick round of questions running into the show here. So I have set up this wireless camera, and I'm hoping that it doesn't run out of battery mid session here. So I've set this up to be our little look around camera, and then I have set up a light over there so I can turn that up and get maybe some better lighting in the room while we go around. The only thing I'm just realizing is I haven't really figured out a good audio solution so we can hear, so I'm gonna have to switch to the built-in microphone on the camera. You're gonna have to forgive me for that. And I bet you'll hear the difference whenever I do that. And then we can just have a little look around the room, get a few shots of what's happening here, and then come back to, I'm going to take this off because I can hear myself in an echo, come back to the desk and I'll take any more questions that come in. But I can start with showing you what I see here. In fact, let me just turn up this light here. Here, you can listen to some music while I go do that. All right, we have a little bit more ambient light. Did you enjoy that? Did I work? Does the music work there? Some more ambient light while I get things set up here. So I have reworked some areas, and first of all, we can look at what I see in front of me, which is the following. Apologies for the handheld camera here, but you're gonna love it, I'm sure. I'll just crank the ISO pretty harshly on this camera just so it's nice and clear what you see. So I do have a very makeshift area in front of me right now, which is one monitor showing the multi-view output of the ATEM. There you go. So that's the multi-view output of the ATEM. And just below that, you can just about see there that I have a teleprompter set up for my camera. In fact, if I just back off on the script there, you can see the teleprompter roll into place. So that's just the HyperDeck Studio HD connected. In fact, if I swing over to the desk here, you can see I have the HyperDeck Shuttle HD with the teleprompter feature built in. It's just sitting beside me on the desk here, and the ATEM is sitting beside that. Let me just back off the shuttering effect there on the ATEM a little bit. So my whole idea behind this reworking of the studio space is so that I can make videos and do that in a ISO form with everything in front of me without having a lot of stuff on the desk. Now, I am breaking that rule instantly today because I have the keyboard and mouse and my laptop and this random battery here and a bunch of stuff on the table, but it is hard not to have all that stuff when you're doing the live stream, right? But for now, I'm okay with that. I can have some stuff here. I don't need so much empty or extra space. But today I shot a video about connecting Blackmagic cameras to SDI ATEM because I have a few of those in the studio now. So that was one of the reasons I got to set everything up nice and do that. Okay, so here on the desk, what you couldn't see off to the side there was this ATEM SDI Pro ISO, which is what's running the show in terms of the the battery. Low battery is flashing on this camera right now. Awesome, I love it. So that's what's not running this show, but we're running my video recordings. So the idea here being that whenever I shoot a YouTube video, I only really need like 4 sources recorded while I do that. Today I had the main camera, the overhead camera, I had my laptop feeding in, and then I also had one more connection point, which was for the camera about which I was making that video. So that's more than enough. I can hit ISO record on that. I can edit the video as I go along, which works out really nicely, turns out. And then whenever I'm done recording for the day, grab that SSD out of the ATEM ISO into my laptop, and I can start editing, or actually just fix the edits that I got wrong in the previous editing session. So that works really nicely. I'm super happy. That's something I really wanted. And this ATEM SDI Pro ISO is being fed from the ATEM behind me. Wait. Just get a spare battery for the camera so that I can continue this tour. Brought to you by nobody. By me. I had that charged up. These batteries disappear fast on this camera. I've had these batteries for a long time, so I suspect that they're not as fresh as I would like them to be anymore. And this one does not work anymore. Okay, this is gonna be an interesting tour. I will switch. Maybe I can switch to my. I'll just switch to my phone instead, and use my Apple TV for the remainder of this tour. I love doing stuff live. Hold on. So that was one of my main reasons that I wanted to redo this area. It's because I had things set up before. If you watched my video about the tour of the new space here, I'd set up all this equipment back here, and then that was going to be my background, and I would do everything from over that side of the room. But I ended up not liking that idea at all. I wanted instead to rework it in a way that made more sense for me, which is this desk is now dedicated to being where I film my videos and do my live streams, and then over on that side of the room is where I'm going to do my work and do that kind of stuff. Okay, we're getting there. Let me just turn on that and go into Filmic Pro. Eric, likelihood when you are a live streaming and a cam will need a battery is 100%. Yeah, I charged 2 batteries today for this very purpose. One of them was just finishing charging because it was charging for ages there. And the other one was fully charged whenever we started this live stream. And now look at us, reverting to an Apple TV AirPlay style setup. But you know what? We'll get there. Okay, this is actually better anyway. Look, you can actually see what I'm talking about now. So, top right, we have the multi-view, which is nice. I can see really clearly what's up there. Of course, I have Stream Deck buttons right next to me here, so I can change whatever goes up there. So I can change this to multi-view 2, or what's on program, which is itself. Or maybe I want to, I don't know, take a look at the web presenter just so I know what you see. I like that. But let's go back to multi-view 1. And then below that, I'm pointing at my screen here for no good reason. You can see there that I have a teleprompter, like I mentioned before, which is the HyperDeck. And behind that is one of the Blackmagic cameras. In fact, if I get rid of the HyperDeck text there, you can just see the camera poking through, which is nice. And you can see a network switch that's just fallen off the wall there as well. So that's the so far of the forward-facing area. And then if I show you the above me, what's happening up above me. In fact, I can just do this. I may not have to get up at all. I have the C-stand here with lots of cables attached to it, a little monitor attached to it, and then up here you can see I have my overhead camera, which is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I really like these. I've become a big fan of the 4K ones for a few reasons. One is that they have the MFT mount, which I have several MFT lenses, so for me, looks great. I'm more than happy for that. And 2, of course, is that you can control them from the ATEM. You can control all the settings that I want to control from the ATEM. It would be really cool, and me and Randy were just talking about this before the live show, was that it'd be really cool if you could do complete control of all menu settings, but it's just not currently possible through the ATEM software control. But that'd be nice if they could open all that up. You could just administer the camera completely from one place. I would like that. But for now, you can do everything on there that I personally want to do. So up here, let's go back to that camera. Which one did I connect it to? Oh yeah, there. You can see coming out of this Blackmagic camera is I have a nice little taped up bidirectional 3G converter. So what that's doing is taking the camera signal from the camera, sending it to the ATEM, and then using the same converter, I'm sending a signal back to the little video assist here. This is pretty nice. I can have an extra little monitor and SD card recorder monitor as well. So for example, today when I was filming a video, I was able to just throw a SD card in there. I always want to say SSD, but SD card, and record an extra little ProRes copy. Go Web Technology saying monitor standing on a box looks scary. No, I think it's okay. I'm confident. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll fall over, but I'm feeling unconfident about it. And then I have a huge big light as well. And one of the things that I'm super happy that I've done in this space is I almost have a no cables on the floor policy. That was a terrible decision I made in the old office where I started running SDI around the floor. And it ends up just being really messy, or you start, the first few cables that you do go along the wall, and then eventually like, well, I'll just put this 1 or 2 cables on the ground here. And then next thing you know, you have cables all over the ground. So I started right this time. And if I show you that, oh, wrong camera. If I show you that again, you can see here that I have all these cables running up to the ceiling here, and they meet at a point at the ceiling. And then I'm trying to do my camera work here without standing up. So you can see they're all pointed up at the ceiling there, and then they make their way back behind me over down the wall to the ATEM, which I have behind me right there. Oh, that way. So all the cables make their way back there into the ATEM. And maybe you can see that just about from this shot, or maybe not. But there are a few cables just running down the front there. But most of them do run down and hide around the back as well, which is really nice. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? You might hear a little bit of microphone noise here, but I will take the microphone. I'm going to be quite the host here. I'm going to take the microphone like this and walk around, move around a little bit. Okay, so ready to cut to the camera and this one. So right here in front of me, oh, this is perfect. I love this. I'm glad it worked out with this camera instead. What else do I have? I have the Stream Deck. I have the Flow 8. I'm still planning on making a video about that at some point, but I haven't quite gotten around to that yet. I really like it. I'm using it for lots of different small little bits and pieces, and especially if somebody joins me on Zoom, I really enjoy to have some control over the audio instead of just patching it all through the ATEM or something like that. Okay, so going around the room a little bit more, you can see over there, it's very bright right now, is the camera that we were using at the start, out of focus mode. Not much to see there. Now, what I'm going to show you next is I have a no cable on the floor policy, but I don't necessarily have a clean floor policy. So this is the result of me pulling the whole studio apart and then slowly trying to pull it back together. I've sort of drawn a line on the ground here, an invisible line that ends just at the bottom of the frame where none of this cable is allowed past. So anything that passes there should be not on the floor. Again, I break my own rules. There's a cable on the floor over there. You can see it, that black cable. That's because I set up this PTZ camera like with 7 minutes on the clock to the live show. So I can forgive myself for that, but I'll sling that tomorrow maybe. I have a light just up there just as an extra for this live show to give me some room light. And then you can see all these cables coming down the back here. Just checking you can still hear me. Cool. They're all coming down the back, all the SDI and mostly SDI and some audio cables too. And then a couple of them are patched on the front, but the rest make their way around the back. And that's where they've got all their patchings at. Not much has changed in the rack itself though. A lot of this is exactly how it was last time I showed things off, but just minor tweaks, you know. Oh, it's starting to get a bit stuttery now. Great. My backup camera is going to die on me. I'm not going to have any camera at all. And then we can go around the back of the rack. And things are not quite as pretty around there, but that's okay. I know where everything connects to, and that's all that really matters. There's a network switch. There's the ATEM. A nice little light there so I can actually see what I'm doing. And then you can see my DIY job. So it's not actually painted the wall back here. It is that paper backdrop that I had before. I've just cut out some pieces and stuck it to the wall. Now, there's not many good reasons for that. And here you can see I've done the same on the corner of the wall here. I don't have any real good reasons for doing that. The main good reason is that it saved me going out of this room and buying some paint. So instead I just decided to just use what I had, which was the paper, and then I don't know. Someday maybe I'll paint it, and someday I won't. But that's how things are set up now. I need. This is going to be a bit of a juggling match here while I try to change camera. Okay, we're back. Hey, that was fun. I enjoyed keeping the good audio. I was really hoping not to have to switch to the built-in microphone on the GH5, and you know what? We managed to avoid it by, well, it let me down. That's what happened. So what you might not quite see is that everything sort of shifted around. So if I head back over to my wide camera here, so this shot, I know it's out of focus, but I'll just leave it that way for now. This shot shows the original shot that I had intended to use for my video productions and all that stuff. So the camera would be over there, and back here would be equipment and shelves of things against this wall, which had the paper backdrop. But I decided that I would just flip things around and dedicate this half of the room to being live streaming and video recording land. And in fact, the wall here, I guess you can tell. Yeah, you can tell by the stream there. The wall here is purple, and that was that color when I moved into this space. So it kind of worked out nicely. I wouldn't have I wouldn't have picked purple. But I do like that it's a dark color and not another white wall, because then I would have had to go buy some paint and paint it, or put more paper everywhere. But the paper is working nicely. From this shot, it's really hard to tell. I have a little bit of work to do there. You can see that there is a piece that I missed. So I'll put some paper up there. And then, I don't know, why bother going out and buying paint if you have the paper and you can just slice off a piece, slap it on the wall, and you're good to go. Okay, let me see if I missed any chit-chat or questions along the way. Mr. Wright CA says, when you use the bidirectional converter with a pocket, can you still take advantage of the tally feature? How would intercom work? Not sure if the pocket has a headphone connection on it. You can still take advantage of the tally feature, absolutely. In fact, I have a video that I shot today all about this, so maybe you'll stay tuned and see exactly how that works and how you configure it. As for the intercom, I don't believe that you would be able to use that out of the box into the camera. I don't think that you would get the intercom on that. I think you would get program audio. No, you would get the headphone on the camera would still be the camera's audio source. Yeah, I think that the camera would have to do something internally in order to give you talkback out of it. So I don't believe that's a feature, unless someone in here knows better than me. And please answer that if I got that wrong. So there'll be no talkback on the pocket cameras. You'd have to go for the studio style cameras to get the talkback out of those. No cables on the floor, says Eric. Thumbs up. Yeah, one of my best decisions. As soon as I strung those cables up and walked into the room the next day, it really changed things. Because you get really used to cables and stepping over them, and it becomes so messy. But I much prefer it now. Go Web Technology says there's always another side of the live view. Yeah, I actually quite like showing off the side that is behind the scenes style, because you get so used to like the single camera view on people's YouTube channels, or even if you talk to people all the time on Zoom, it's nice to see sort of a slightly different angle. In fact, I saw Jonas in the chat here messing around. What did you say? New studio. Who's this? We chat all the time on Zoom, but I've only ever seen Jonas's space from one angle. I always wonder, how does it look from a slightly different angle? So I do like to explore people's rooms and see how things are laid out. So I'll try to do that more here. John is a roving reporter at H2R HQ. Exactly, yeah. I felt very roving there with the microphone in one hand and the camera in the other. I like that. Grant, would love to figure out a way to do nice... Let me try again. Would love to figure out a way to do no cables on the floor for an event I do. We run out of a hotel ballroom, so we need to figure out what gear we need to allow for that. Yeah, I think for a big space that'll be quite difficult. In my space, it doesn't really hurt so much for me. One of the things I discovered, I never thought about this, but cables have to be longer if they go up the way and over and down, versus going down and over and up. because, well, they don't have to be, but I just mean in my particular space, I have everything mounted quite low. Like the camera is like 1/3 the height of the ceiling that you're looking at right now. The most of this equipment is about 1/3 the height of the ceiling. So if I was going down and over and up, then my cables, I was cutting cables basically for that journey. And then as soon as I started going up and over and down, all that height changed enough that some of the cables were just a little bit on the small side. So for SDI video signals, for video signals, and you're running SDI or even NDI, you'll probably want to sling or throw up a lot of SDI cables with spares. Oh, and label them nicely, of course. If you're not going to be able to get access to that high area again, I would run maybe twice as many as I need if you have them on hand. That would be one way to do it. Power cables, like you just mentioned there, would be pretty hard to get right, I think. That's one of the things I haven't quite gotten right here. Power has to go down the way. It's quite annoying to run power cables up the way, I think. So that'll be interesting. I don't know if it'll work as well in a hotel ballroom, but please do check back in and let us know how you got on with that. If you're running everything NDI, for example, you could run those cables easily up there, a couple of extras just in case, or a bunch of SDI cables. But it's so much easier in a space like that just to run everything on the floor, and you can run more cables if you need them. I'll have to get someone else on the show with me next week, because talking for an hour non-stop is really breaking my throat already. There we go. Any particular reason that cables go overhead rather than the floor? Really just tidiness is one, because I do think it looks messier when cables crisscross a room. Along the walls is okay, but even then I don't love it, especially when you start to stack them, 4 or 5 cables. They can't really turn into corners very well, but as soon as they go up high, you never really look up there. Well, I don't. I'm looking down most of the time, so I don't see them up there, which is, it's sort of like a lifting, almost like a fresh air. As soon as I did it, I felt the lift. It was really nice. I'm going to turn off this other light again real quick. 1 second. You can stay with me. I can really feel the heat picking up in this room, so it's nice to have that off again. Cozy. Let me see. The paint will come after 2 or 3 retaping sessions. Yeah, definitely, Peter. You're absolutely right. The paper on the wall will definitely fall off at some point, and I'll get annoyed by that. But for now, we're good. I'm happy with how well it's stuck up there. I thought it would come in the next day, and it had already fallen down. Eric says, I'm finding the black paper backdrop is doing creating a set for the side of the room. I think so too. Originally, I didn't have that, obviously, whenever I moved everything around, but it really changed things back there. It was so bright back there. This light that's on me right now was spilling so much into the background that you could just see everything back there and all the cables, and it didn't look great. So I'm glad I did that for sure. Cozy Little Space says, Niels, due to the lack of table space, I'm leaving gear on the floor all the time until I have got time to sort it. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right here. That pile, that messy pile that I showed before. Can you still see it with this camera? Yeah, you can. It looks even messier now that the lighting has went down. So this is like the reject pile. Anything that was here and that I pulled out and threw over there. And I will leave it there until such times as I deal with it. And now I walk around it when I want to go in. It's between me and the door, so I'm walking around it as I come in and out. But I'll get there at some point. Mateus, say, good to have you here watching live. Is that your own sound treatment in the ceiling? No, it's not actually. So this is another interesting thing about this office space by accident. I'll get this camera back up again. Is you can see up there, it has these panels in the roof, and these are all soft, sort of like, well, foam filled, and then material, like a fabric covered soft tiling, which is really helping with even though this room is pretty sparse in terms of soft surfaces. In fact, there's nothing soft in here except for the seat that I'm sitting on and these really soft tiles, which are huge on the roof. So it worked out nicely. I didn't add those. Those are just happened to be in all of the office spaces here. And they're really deadening the sound nicely. I could do more, I'm sure, but I'm really happy with how well they've worked to to bring down the noise in here. Love it. Grant again, we've definitely had issues with power and audio cables running close to each other and to just hum. Yeah, so I suppose if you were to bring your audio cables up and over and your power can just stay on the floor, then that would be a good way to get the two away from each other. And we've been able to work around that on the fly, but having a solution from the beginning would be ideal. I suppose audio would be very possible if you had a couple of those audio snakes or something. It depends how much audio you want to pass forward and backward. Assuming that, front of house is at the back of the room and the stage is at the front. If you don't have a ton of audio to push around, then you could run like a couple of snakes in the ceilings and forward. One of the things I would say, though, in a ballroom is that they'd probably want you to be... I can imagine that would look messier depending on the roof if you had cables sort of strung up there. I mean, this doesn't look super clean. I'm under no illusion that this looks amazingly clean. But what it does do is, at my eye height, everything looks a lot cleaner than cables on the floor. However, in a ballroom, perhaps looking up and seeing a cable sort of strung up there might look worse than it lying on the floor. But it really depends if they have a place for you to string it. Always separate signal cables from power cables. Yes, do your best to do that. I'm not doing that right now. I have them running together on the floor over there. But I don't have a whole lot, so it's okay. Question here, how many hyperdecks for recording are you using? Good question. So for this, in general, whenever I'm doing stuff here in the studio space, I typically record on 2 different things at the same time. I have a hyperdeck recording in the background here. You can just see it there. It's recording this live stream. Not for any good reason, I suppose. I'm not going to do anything with it. I suppose maybe if the electricity died, maybe I could keep doing the show and upload it afterwards. Although if the electricity died, I wouldn't be able to do that. If the internet died, I could do that and just keep doing the show and upload it. But I'd probably spend most of my time messing around talking about the fact that it didn't work, that I would run out of things. So I have that running for this show. And then whenever I do like an average video here in the studio space, I do run that. Like today I shot a video, so I ran that with my main camera being recorded into that. And then I also used this ATEM SDI Pro ISO, which is on my table here, and it has connections coming into it, and I ISO recorded in that as well. I'm going to take this opportunity while you're looking at that overhead shot to take off my jumper because I'm very warm. There we go. So I ISO recorded into that whenever I was shooting a video. So that's 4 sources being recorded, and then the backup of cut to me without a jumper on now. I shouldn't have said that. I could have just done it without mentioning it and then seen if you noticed any difference. So that's 2 recordings that I use whenever I'm doing jobs for clients and stuff. It just depends how many hyperdecks that the customers have. Typically I find 3 to 4 these days. So I was doing a job this week and there was 3 hyperdecks. We did a program record, a clean feed 1 record, and a clean feed 2 record. And then when I'm working with his other local vendor, Daniel, we tend to do 4 records on that. So double program on 2 different hyperdecks, and then 2 ISO feeds, maybe camera 1 and camera 2, just to have those just in case. It's particularly true whenever you have a lot of PTZ cameras that you just you can't record internally, so you just send them to a hyperdeck and record just in case. Any more questions coming in here? Oh, IT never gets old. Does that work? Yes. Are you on a lower level or upper level? I am on a in-between level. So the building that I'm in is being used quite strangely. A lot of the space is being used as long-term storage units. So it's just one of the ways that the building owners decided to try to get people to rent it out, was they just sectioned up the upper floor to be storage units. So there's no one above me except for people's stuff. And then there's some business activities downstairs, but they're pretty quiet and somewhat seasonal, so it's pretty quiet down there. There is I was going to say nightclub. It's not a nightclub, but it is a venue downstairs where live music does happen, typically on Friday or Saturday, and not very often at all. but literally below me, or below the kitchen, if you saw the office tour, below the kitchen area is a stage, and I can hear music coming from that very clearly. So if they had a show tonight, I would be struggling to do a live stream, I think, or I could be very tight with my audio. Someday I might have to do it where there's a show or a band downstairs and I'm up here, and I'll be very interested to hear if you can hear that band, or if YouTube ends up hearing it and I have some weird copyright stuff. But for today, on Mondays, it seems things are pretty quiet down there, so it's not the worst place to be. Would I like it to be completely quiet here? Absolutely. All the time. Go Web Technologies. What are your plans when the studio is done? How your day looks like in the office? How does your day look like in the office? Well, the studio will never be done. I've realized that. I've learned that the hard way. In the old studio space or office space, I was there for 6 months and I rearranged it 4 times. I've been here for 1 month now and I've rearranged it twice. Or well, had 2 arrangements. So it's never going to be done. I'm certain of that. I'm going to constantly remove it because it's never quite the way I want it to be, and then I start shuffling, and maybe you buy a new light and everything kind of shuffles over. But for now, I'm pretty happy with this. My idea here being that I can shoot a video, demonstrate something, multi-ISO record it, live edit that video. So for example, if I cut to, let me see, on the desk here, let me just show you over the head camera. Like I said, I have this ATEM SDI Pro ISO sitting here, and it has 3 feeds running into it. Now if I cut to it, which I'm showing the multi-view on, yes, this one. So now you're looking at the multi-view of that ATEM, and it looks very similar to the other ATEM because I'm feeding my overhead camera into 1, overhead camera into 2, main camera into 1. The Apple TV iPhone is coming in on 3 there, you can see, and it's getting very choppy. And then on 4 I have nothing, but in my ATEM server control here, you can't see this right now, but I can send whatever I want to whatever these inputs are here. So for example, let me send maybe, what else do I have here? Multi-view 2, will that work? Yeah, so I'm sending a multi-view into that ATEM right now that's on the table. And that means that I can do the ISO record with that multi-view being one of the ISOs. I just realized now I should have done that today because I could totally have used that today. And I can make a video about, a main A camera, a B camera, 3 camera would be the multi-view, so I could show that off on something. And then the 4th one can be whatever else I have. So that's my day-to-day videoing activities in a nutshell right there. Whenever I'm not doing that, I'm sitting over on that side of the room developing and on a Zoom call or editing maybe the show, or the videos. It's like a broadcast TV, all cables pass through the upper grid. Yeah, that's cool. If you can get a building that everything can pass through, that'd be really cool. Grant says, I'm not too concerned about the look of the space. We're not an in-person event. I'm purely streamed, so the only people seeing it would be volunteers or talent. That's a good point. So your reason for moving your cables up and over would be just to get out of people's way and to stop the interference between cables then. And it's not an in-person event, so you're not worried about the look. Okay, that's a very good reason to do it for sure. Akoda on air says, are you actually working on a newer version of H2R graphics? Yeah, absolutely. We have version 2.11 is currently in beta testing. Maybe for another week or 2 still, because I have another couple of changes to make to that beta version, and then we'll push that out. And that's version 2.11. If what you mean is another version, as in like version 3, then no, I'm not working on that. I've had some thoughts about what it might be, but I've done zero true, pen on paper or keyboard on, fingers on keyboard coding or anything like that. I have no intention of doing that, starting that anytime soon. So it is something I've thought about, but version 2.11 is more of my focus. So that's in the works, and I'll be sure to present that on here on the live show when the time comes. Oh, you're still looking at that. Okay, I'll come back to me. Oh, you saw the same information anyway. We're basically renting a ballroom for a week to turn it into a studio space, which gives us some flexibility because of that. Oh, that's perfect. That's cool. You can do whatever you want then. I don't know if I would, if I was going to rent a ballroom for a week, turn it into studio, I'm not sure I would send cables up high. I think I would keep everything quite low, because unless you had a really good reason to get them out of the way, I'd probably leave them low. Maybe take them in 2 different paths so that you can get your audio away from your video, or sorry, your power away from your video. No, your power away from your audio. But it just seems to me like 3 days in, if you really wanted to change a cable, it'd be so much easier if they were just in a manageable area. Maybe. I don't know. But I do like the idea. Joaquim says, what brand of SDI cable are you using, and are they custom made or purchased? And I think GoWeb Technologies, yeah, I gave all this information to GoWeb Technologies recently, so thank you for reminding me that it's Belden 1855A with compression connectors at each end. So I do cut them into the length that I need them. I did a live stream about this a few weeks ago. It ended up coming up. No, I didn't make a live stream about it, but I ended up talking about it a lot during that live stream. So let me see if I can find that live stream somewhere. Whenever I was in the old office, I was doing a live stream about this and that, and then suddenly most of the discussion became about the cables that I'm using and how I'm using them. Maybe I can't find that in a hurry though. Yeah. If you want me to, oh no, wait, here. I'll just fire it up here and drop a link in the chat. SDI cable live stream. Look at me trying to reach around my microphone here to get at a cable live stream. You can check that out, and it has all the information in there about that. Yeah, I went on for a long time about the cables I used and all that good stuff. But thank you for that. There's a video all about it, exactly. Any hints about what is going to be included in version 2.11? Yeah, I can give you a quick little peek of that now. Do I have it running over there, or should I do it here? Let me see what version. I have every version installed somewhere on this computer. Let me see if I have it here. No, I don't. I can launch it though. We can get into what's coming soon. We do have about 10 more minutes to go on the show, so why not talk a little bit about H2R graphics. I will spin up my development version though. That way I don't get in the way of my show here. Where is it at? There it is. So 2.11. I need to even look at the release notes to see what is coming, because I've done so many versions here that I personally need to see what's available and what's not. Switching over to that. Great. So let me see. Yeah, we have a few things. Okay, let me get rid of my thing here and show you this. HyperDeck. No. Apple TV. There we go. So this is me running 2.11.1. And one of the things that we'll check out is this new control room view, which is quite neat. The plan here is to have a way of showing the rundown and your preview and your program at the same time. So if I make that nice and big, you can see I have a 3 sort of panel area. One being the rundown, one being the preview, and one being what's on the actual output. So if I was to preview a graphic like this, then you'll see it pop up on the side here as a preview. And then if I run that graphic, you'll see it run on the output. And the bottom bottom left-hand side is exactly what will be on the output from somewhere else. This is really nice. I really like this layout here. You can try stuff out, make sure it all does what you expect it to, like that. This is a good example. So I have a broken image here because I haven't actually launched this project in a while. I have myself a broken image there. So I could, in theory, preview that and make sure I'm not going to show that during my live show. Or I can just go straight to a countdown. Bit of a weird shaping, but it works. So that's one of the things coming soon to version 2.11. I have a list here. I'm just gonna make sure. What else is new? Control room, I showed you that. Oh yeah, okay, I've got some moderation stuff to show as well, which is really nice. So back over here on the Apple TV, or what I'm using to show you this, I have this new social only option. So there's no social graphics or social things set up in this project, but what you can see here is you could open this up on a page here and give that to someone running your social, like a moderator, and all they can see is that. They can't mess with your graphics in any way, which is a nice little thing to have for them. You'll also see here that I have, not only do I have that social thing here, but I have some URL modifiers that I'll be documenting as well. Excuse me, I'm gonna enjoy some water. So in those cases, you can give a Chrome link to someone with some modifications in the URL. It's not super secure or anything, but it will mean that they can't do anything like change the graphics. They can't send graphics on air. They can't change social things. All they can do is sort of list certain comments. So that'll be quite nice if you use this with, you know, maybe the client gets access to that part of it, but you don't want them to have access to everything. And then one more thing is the label and the search. I think I added search as well to to this version. So one of the things, if I come back to this again, you can now, if I edit my graphic here, there is a custom label option. So I can give this a custom label. So for example, this is not a great example here, but if I had maybe multiple lower thirds that all had the same name in them, but you know, they're slightly different. You know that they're different, but they all look the same on the rundown, right? So what I can do now is edit each one and say this one is 1, this one is called number 2, and then this one is called number 3. And then in the rundown here, maybe it's a bit small on your stream here, but you can see that they have, oh wait, I can zoom in, nice. They have 1, 2, 3 little indicators on there so you can see what they actually are. And then, oh no. Can I not zoom back out again? Oh, okay, I had the wrong modifier. One more advancement to that is that you can actually now search and filter the graphics down. So if you had 100 lower thirds with 100 different names on them here, you could find number 3 really quickly by clicking on it like that. So there's a little search bar at the top here that you can, zoomed in faster. You can type in anything you want and it searches through certain parameters in here. So for example, if I was to type in first line, it doesn't matter if it's capital, it just sort of gets rid of all that. So it's showing me all the graphics that have first line written in them somewhere. So nice little feature, something that people have been asking for a long time, and it's nice to finally add it. Oh, and one more cool thing is there's a new data source type, which is called a HTTP listener. If you're not familiar with doing this sort of HTTP stuff, then it might not mean much to you, but there will be a way, and I'll document it on the docs, for you to send your own social messages into H2R graphics via HTTP, something that Jonas has been messing around with his little Zoom ISO linker thing. We can get more into that in the future whenever this is out there, but basically you can pull comments from something like Zoom, write a little bit of code between and push them into H2R graphics. And then if you want to, you can show them up on a live stream just like I'm doing with the graphics here. So like that, they'll show up just like that, as though they're normal graphics. Nice, says Mateus. Thank you. Thank you for that. IT Never Gets Old says, looks like some of that Dash Master development is showing up. Yeah, absolutely. The 3-window approach, what I showed just now on, where did that go? This one. The only reason that this layout exists is because while we were building Dash Master, I happened to build this layout on one of my dashboards, and then I just thought, like, why isn't this part of the application core? So now it is. It's not related to Dash Master in any way, this, other than the fact that I just happened to have that great idea while we're doing it. Ted says, would love to use my own lower thirds from Photoshop. Yeah, you could just save them as PNGs and drop them in and show them as images. That'll work just fine. I'm not sure how else one could make that happen. Yeah, that would be the only way right now, to PNG them and then drop them in. This is a really useful thing. Cool. Happy to hear it. Nice stuff with the control room and social output. Yeah, I'm super happy with those. Go Web Technologies, have you thought of adding a search icon in H2R graphics rundown? Something it's difficult to find what we're looking for in the queue list. Oh yeah, okay. I guess you asked that before I showed it, but yeah, that's coming. Is search available in variables too? No, it's not currently. Maybe you can send me a message to remind me to add that to my list, but I can make it search through the variables as well. I just don't have that right now. Eric saying being able to pull chat/comments from different data sources is cool. It definitely is. One of the things, the reason I laid it out the way it's laid out right now, which is project, data source, and you can link a data source to a project, is exactly for that purpose. I intended, before now, I intended to already add a second or many more data sources. It's just not something I have added just yet. Alcoda says, have you planned to add more options in the video section, like a way that goes on air or goes out of air? I have not planned on anything huge just there. One of the things I wanted to do for a while is queuing graphics after other graphics have done something. I have looked into it, but it is much more complicated than I would like it to be, which is classic, which is the usual reason I stop doing things and hold them for later and rethink them, because it might not be instantly what I want them to be. So not entirely. IT Never Gets Old, very curious about the HTTP listener. Sounds like there might be some pretty interesting system integration options. Yeah, in fact, let me just real quick, if I load up the documentation for H2R graphics here. Yeah, that'll work. And I go into, do I have it documented yet? That's the question. I may not have it documented just yet. Or I have, and I just can't find it. Oh yeah, no, I do. So I'll show you this now. Over in my computer here, this is the current documentation for H2R graphics. It's just that not everything exists just yet because I haven't released that version, but I needed to document it for the testers, so I just put it in there. But here in the HTTP listener section, you'll see that whenever you add a HTTP source, what you get is a URL to send data to. So in this case, the URL is the IP address of the computer, the port / this part / data will always be the same, and then there's a data source ID. This will all be clear in the UI as well whenever the time comes. And then from there, you just send a post request to the application, to that URL, URI, whatever word you want to use, with a body set to messages, and it is an array of messages. Again, if this is not something that you're not used to this kind of stuff, then I find it hard to read this kind of documentation. I wrote this, and I still find it hard to fully parse this in my own head. It's very much a trial and error sort of situation. But you can send data to that URL, and if you do, then you just have to make it look a certain way. So for example, in this example here, the body is a messages, this is JSON array with an ID, which should be unique, a little snippet, which is the display message. So here's a message to you. Author details, so you can add their name like John Barker, and you can also add a URL, so any image URL can pop in there as well. And then the end result looks like this. In the social area, you'll have their image, which is I fixed later, so that looks good. So you could add like a zoom icon, for example, their name and their message, and then it will show up. Oh, whoops, sorry for that. It will show up in the social tab as you would expect it to. I'm excited for that. Definitely, it's a cool one because it just lets people take over a certain part of the application for now, sending data into it in a nice, understanding way. Hopefully it makes sense. Thank you, Carl. Yes, everyone hit that like button. Not something I say often, but good to have you here. Oh, it seems to be working. 65 people currently watching, 22 likes. It just jumped up from 17 there all of a sudden when Carl reminded. So please do. I appreciate it. YouTube apparently likes it whenever people like it. I like it as well, so do that. I appreciate that big time. Carl is right. 70 viewers, only 21 likes. Coming down to the last few questions of the show here, because I need to call it a day and head home on this foggy, scary October 31st night. Question, not getting the graphics template to load in my pro version. Okay, Carl, sorry to hear that. I'm not sure I can help you on the fly during the live stream here, but send me a message either through Discord or email address through the website. There's a place to send issues in there. Do that, and I will be happy to figure it out with you. I'm sure we can get your themes to load up and solve it. That wasn't the best answer after you getting everyone to like it, but we'll do it, definitely. Line blinking on the top, is that for just me? That may not be just you. If I wonder if you're seeing it in this shot or on the other shot. I am seeing some weird things on certain sources where there is a line blinking at the top. Okay, last question, Carl. Can you discuss the best practice for using 4 output feature? Thanks. Oh, that could be a big one. So in H2R graphics, if you're not familiar, in the Pro version, not only do you get 1 output, but you get up to 4. So you can send certain graphics to certain outputs. Now, there are some use cases there that you might find. One is that I have seen some people do multilingual graphics. So you could have a lower third, 4 of them, and each one is in a different language. And then you can set each one to a different output, and then you show those 4 at the same time with the queue and run. And you can show those outputs on top of your live stream, and now you have 4 outputs. Another use case that I personally have used it for is I ran my H2R graphics session. I had 1 rundown, but I had 3 or 4, I can't remember now, paddle courts running at the same time, all showing graphics. So paddle court 1, I had on output 1, 2 on 2, 3 on 3. And then when I wanted to show the graphics on each one, I could show that out all within one project. So 4 being the maximum amount in that case, but I could, in theory, use 1 rundown, 1 H2R graphics session for all 4 of the paddle courts that I was using. So small use case there. Maybe there's more that people can think of. Certain displays in rooms, you can send certain graphics up to those and stuff like that. Pretty useful. I think I really like it. Alrighty. What is that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Mateus. The reason I did this, it's a little tennis ball. Can you see that on the stream? It looks different over there, but the reason I did the paddle competition was because Mateus got me to help him out while he was doing it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Funny. That was the reason that I was there, because he hired me to help him out and do it. So that was fun. Already. That's been an hour already. Chit-chatting about all this fun stuff. You got an office tour. I never even got to talk about Mix Effect. We'll talk about that on a different show or in a video. Thank you so much for watching along. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a good laugh to be here. I have planned on doing live streams every single Monday for the rest of the year. I was doing it every other week before this point. But I do plan on coming in here using this space that I've specifically set up for this purpose. So I may as well use it, get the most out of it. And then, why not? I went to all this effort to set it up. I may as well use it. So every Monday you can join me here at this time. Next Monday the time will be better because maybe all the clocks will be fixed by then. But around this time I'll be live for about 60 minutes answering questions and chatting about whatever comes up along the way. Is that everything? I think so. I'm going to cut to my wide camera, show my credits, and say thanks to all of the members of the channel, all of you for watching along, of course. And a big thanks to Jeremy, Revolution Lightboards, Marlon, and Jim as well. And all of your lovely faces. Just got them in there on time. Thank you for that. Thanks for joining. I guess I'll see you in the next live stream. Until then, bye-bye. See ya.